What's up, everybody? Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we got a lot of crazy things to talk about. Now, the big story that we're gonna talk about is the fact that a Riot dev just stated that you can get banned from ranked for doing this specific thing, and we gotta break it down and talk about it because it might be great or terrible depending on who you are. And then we gotta talk about all the stuff that we expect to see in patch 2.02, things that we know for sure we're gonna see, things that we wish we would see, and we're gonna break that all down, so make sure you watch it to the end. But if you've been missing all your shots, go to the GameLeap website. Have you been getting trash teammates? Go to the GameLeap website. Have you been unable to get a single MILF in your area? Well, go to the GameLeap website. We will answer all your prayers. Go check it out down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now, right now, we have a lot of problems going on with Valorant. There are almost too many to talk about. But we already covered all the craziness that's going on in ranked right now, where players just feel like things are completely mismatched where they should be, who they're playing against. You're finding plat players that are actually radiant players. You're finding gold players getting in lobbies with people that had like diamond 3 or even immortal Doritos. It's just like a freaking mess right now. But to make matters worse, there's something that has actually been a problem for a while, and it blew up on Reddit, and I really agree with this, and it stated this: I don't know how many times this can be said, but stop letting chat ban players queue for competitive games, which is something that I pretty much get. I understand, because if you can't actually communicate, if you're being too toxic, why are you even allowed to play competitive in the first place? And a Riot employee actually responded to this with more insight that is really crazy. I'm gonna read it word for word, and then we're gonna talk about it afterwards. So the Riot employee Brightsy said this: "We hear you. We will be preventing players who have been penalized with chat and voice restrictions from playing rank in the next 2 to 3 patches. We are actively working on the tech. It's taking a little bit longer than anticipated, but we are committed to building it. While we don't want to make it a requirement that you have to use voice comms in rank, parentheses, some people may not feel comfortable using their voice for a variety of reasons, we do understand having players who have already proven that they can be highly disruptive with active restrictions in your rank games feels unfair, and we want to prevent that from happening in the near future. We'll have additional comms coming out in the coming months around our overall plans to reduce disruptive behavior and make our penalty systems more robust." Now, basically, there are actually going to be much more severe punishments for getting chat and voice banned, as for before. If you just said something really toxic or really offensive, you would actually get chat and voice banned, but you were still allowed to play ranked. And that really doesn't make a lot of sense, because yeah, these people can play the game, but they're not allowed to talk. Now, Riot is making a caveat here. They're not forcing people to talk, because there are a ton of reasons, and I could go on and on about the number of reasons why someone wouldn't want to talk or can't physically talk because of some sort of disability. They just can't talk in chat, and Riot's never gonna force you to talk. But if you do open your mouth, things need to be productive. If you are gonna speak into the mic, it can't be racist, it can't be homophobic, you can't be spouting anti-GameLeap propaganda. Whatever you're doing, it needs to actually be positive towards the game, positive towards winning. And in that regard, if you do get banned, you get hit with that chat or voice restriction, you are not going to be able to play ranked. It's as simple as that. And honestly, this is going to solve a lot of these problems as long as it's being fairly attributed. I don't want it to be a situation where, let's say you play, you're one person and you end up with 3 people on your team that are stacking, and because they don't like you, because you don't pop off or whatever the case may be, they all report you and you get chat banned, and as such, you can't actually play ranked. As long as they make sure to put a system in place that is fair and actually requires you to actually be negative, toxic, offensive, or something like that to legitimately deserve being banned, then I'm all for it. And I think this will dissuade a lot of people from just being toxic. People aren't gonna just act like that if they know that they could just get banned out of nowhere at the snap of their fingers in one day. It's not gonna be like they just go for months and months and nothing happens to them, which happens a lot in other games, aka Overwatch. This happened all the time, where people would be freaking crazy toxic and offensive, and they would be allowed to just exist in the sphere for like many months without getting touched. I'm glad that Riot is making definitive steps to solve this issue, but as per usual, I really want to know your opinion about this in the comments down below. Do you like the idea? Do you hate it? What do you think will happen? And are there any fears that you have when they implement the system? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, the next thing that we gotta really talk about is what we're gonna be seeing and what we need in patch 2.02. Now, they've already talked about the fact that running and gunning is coming soon, and they've said that many patches ago, so it's looking like it's very likely it's gonna be in the most recent patch or the patch upcoming, because it's been coming soon for like 2 or 3 patches now, so I hope that we're gonna be expecting it around the corner. Now, one thing that we know about running and gunning and how they're gonna be changing it is they're really scared about how they're gonna be changing gunplay, because they feel like if they make one small change to gunplay, out of nowhere the gunplay could feel absolutely awful, and that's why they've been taking their sweet time. Now, that being said, this makes me think that it might be a fundamental change to all guns, not just the rifles, because I was thinking in my mind, hey, they're only going to change the rifles, but if they're worried about gunplay as a whole really being affected, maybe they are actually thinking about big gunplay changes that are going to affect every single gun across the board. Now, while I'm personally okay with weapons like SMGs to be a little bit more forgiving as far as the running and gunning aspect, I do think the game would feel a lot better if there was actually a certain barrier to entry into the higher ranks of play as far as gunplay is concerned, because the problem right now is you can really climb even to the higher ranks not knowing or having good gunplay fundamentals, not counter-strafing correctly, not having good enough crosshair placement, and not really using guns the way that they should be using, and doing a lot of running and gunning, if I'm being honest, because the gunplay is so forgiving. Now, the problem is the system in place right now actually encourages bad habits because you can get away with a lot of them. In fact, a lot of times when an enemy is actually standing still with good crosshair placement, and you just run across his screen while spraying and praying, but you actually manage to hit a decent amount of your shots, that really rewards you for playing incorrectly. And honestly, I really would like maybe more dramatic changes to the running and gunning, and potentially make weapons very inaccurate while you're moving. At the very least, the Phantom and the Vandal should be weapons that you're standing pretty much always still if you want to hit anything, unless you're actually point blank range. But I really want to know your opinion about this. Do you think running and gunning isn't really that big of a problem as it is now? Or would you rather see really harsh penalties towards running and gunning, making your guns really inaccurate, and then forcing players to adjust, even though it's going to have a lot of growing pains if you do that out of nowhere, where players might be even in a pretty high rank, and they're like, hey, I can't even sustain gold anymore, I can't even sustain plat anymore, because they never actually mastered the gunplay, and they've been using running and gunning as a crutch. Now, the next thing that we got to talk about is the fact that they have said in the past that they are implementing a lot of controller changes, but they actually talked about how that Jet change was a sort of controller tweak because they felt that Jet was filling that role in ranks sometimes, and I really hope that that's not all the controller changes that we are gonna get, because we got the Omen changes, the Brimstone changes, and then the Jet changes, which is technically a quote-unquote controller change, but I really want to see either some buffs or some reworks to Viper. Viper is an amazing character. I love her style. I actually like her kit a lot, but it really needs some work. And in moving on to the next question I wanted to talk to you as we close things out is, what changes do you want to see? What do you really want to see in this next patch 2.02? I personally really want Viper to be changed in a fundamental way. I talked about this before, how I would love her actual primary smoke to be throwable really long distances or placeable really long distances, similar to like a Brimstone or an Omen, or make it really easy to throw exactly what you want to get it in, and then you could return it by pressing a button. It goes back on cooldown and it goes back to your character. That would be amazing, and I would love that. Maybe even her toxic screen could be redeployable. I don't know if that would be too powerful, but in her current state, she is basically just one of the weakest characters in the game. She does not fit the controller role, and when controllers have the least amount of characters in that role, and then Viper's not even playable in that role, now you just have 2 options, really. That's all you get, and I would like a lot more options in that regard, so I really would love to see some Viper changes. But definitely let me know what changes that you would like to see in the comments down below, and go to the GameLeap website right now, because many people have already ranked up multiple ranks past their peak rank using our system, so go check it out in the links down below so that you can easily climb this competitive act. But thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at CoachMillsOW. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.